Well, Gary, when you talk about like taking that next step, and there's lots of guys I think you can look at what they did the first couple of games and kind of see that there's definitely they're trending in the right direction. Jayson Tatum, though, for a minute, Gary, he looks bigger to me. And I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing. Like when he came to the league, he clearly had to bulk up because he was too damn skinny. He was going to get tossed around like a wet rag doll if he didn't. And now he's at the point where he's starting to look like he's a damn like power forward in the making the way his body's filling out. I mean, I'm curious you and Kwani's thoughts on this. Are you concerned that he might be putting on too much weight?
The A-List Podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the A-List Podcast with Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn. I'm Kwani Lunis, and the preseason has officially begun. The Celtics are playing basketball. We can finally see what this new team really looks like. So let's just start with the first two preseason games. We'll start with their preseason opener, which was against Philly on Sunday. Pritchard scores 26, Porzingis scores 17, makes the first three shots. And then, of course, we can get into Monday's game as well. But let's start with the very first initial look that you guys got against Philadelphia. What did you think about that team?
Bro, and Pritchard was in the building.
Yeah.
Bro, and Pritchard was in the building, fresh off of inking a 4-year, $30 million contract. Listen, you know how most of us, when you get that first big check, what do? Nonsense. Foolishness. You just act a fool with your first big check. Payton Pritchard was like, nah, I'm all about the business. I'm going to show y'all why they put that kind of money into me, even though, up to this point in his career, if we're being honest and real, Payton hasn't really shown the game that you would expect from someone to get that kind of money. But a lot of that has to do with opportunity. I think Payton, up to this point, really hasn't had an opportunity to showcase what he can do. And with Marcus Smart gone, with Malcolm Brogdon gone, with Jrue Holiday in the mix, but Drew's still kind of acclimating himself, this was Payton's chance to really kind of show what he could do and the type of player that he could be. And he had a great game. Now, is he going to give you 26 a night? No. That damn sure not going to happen. But you at least know that he's engaged in a way of doing the things that you know he's capable of doing. And when his opportunity to play on a big stage and really kind of have more, frankly, weight of the team on his shoulders, he stepped up and handled his business. So I give Payton props for stepping up in that first game, putting up big numbers and helping him get that win.
Yeah, the preseason opener was a solid effort in terms of they got everybody in the game. Porzingis, we got some flashes of what he can do. Jrue Holiday came off the bench, but Mazzulla told us not to look in too much into what his lineups were. Don't think that that's going to be the starting lineup on opening night, and it also could be different starting lineups on different nights, considering the opponent and who they're facing, big team, small team, etc. So it was good to just see everybody out there. Jaylen trying to show his improved game. Jayson Tatum got off to a little bit slow start. And then to see the guys like Payton come off the bench, score 26 points, and guys play with more confidence. I guess the thing you want to see in the preseason is whether guys have taken that next step, whether they've improved their game, all the stuff that they've worked on in the offseason. How does it look? Do they look more physically imposing? Do they look more confident? Do they appear like they're going to really help this team or take another step forward? And I think that that's what the encouraging part about the first two games were. Obviously Monday against the Knicks, where they didn't play any their starters, and it was a lot of the guys coming off the bench who were going to be fighting for minutes, and they show what they could do. So overall, I thought the first two games were positive games. Joe Mazzulla obviously seems a little bit more comfortable in his position, more comfortable in his skin, more comfortable with what he's about to do and the journey that they're about to embark on. So I think it was all positive. The only down was Jay Scrubb, a guy I was looking forward to seeing. A two-way contract, a guy who's kind of come from nowhere, came from the JC ranks and not play Division I ball. Tears his ACL in practice, and that's got to be hard for him. He gets his shot, he's trying to show himself, and tears his knee up in practice, and is probably out for the whole year. And so now the Celtics, what do they do with this two-way contract? Do they waive him and sign someone else? Do they wait for him to rehab? What do they do? Because that's a tough position to be in when you're on a contract and you all of a sudden that's a two-way deal, then suffer a season-ending injury. I was really looking forward to seeing him and what he could do because I know he was trying to take that next step. You like to see the kids work hard. So that was the only unfortunate part of the first two games.
Well, Gary, when you talk about like taking that next step, and there's lots of guys, I think you can look at what they did the first couple of games and kind of see that there's definitely they're trending in the right direction. Jayson Tatum, though, for a minute, Gary, he looks bigger to me. And I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing. Like when he came to the league, he clearly had to bulk up because he was too damn skinny. He was going to get tossed around like a wet rag doll if he didn't. And now he's at the point where he's starting to look like he's a damn like power forward in the making the way his body's filling out. I mean, I'm curious, you and Kwani's thoughts on this. Are you concerned that he might be putting on too much weight and it might be affecting his shot making?
I'm not yet. But you're right. He does look. I know you both saw like the year one and the side by side photo, but I don't think it's that bad. But I guess we need a bigger sample size.
I think if you're a Celtics fan, you hope it helps him in the post. You hope that he's able to be more physical in the paint, finish through contact, be a little bit stronger with the ball. You hope that it doesn't affect his three-point shot, or that he's playing a little bit stiff.
That's what I worry about.
Because it's given like football player body build. Like
you do want to get stronger, and you do want to. So I think, to be honest with you, I think this is the best Jason's should look like, the most sculpted. Like, okay, Jayson, you've proved your point.
Stop there.
Stop. You ain't don't get no bigger.
Yeah.
You know, you're 6'10". You're going to be about, you want to get 220, maybe something like that at most. He's probably came into the league. He might have been like 195.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
190. So now he's got the bulk. Let's see what happens. But I'm not concerned as much with the bulk. You hope it helps him. But I do think, Sherrod, you're right. Like, I would say, if I'm the Celtics and trainers and I'm Mazzulla and Brad, like, stop, stop with the trying to, break the weight lifting record, in the local gyms, and just get stronger and get more wiry strength as opposed to bulky.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. That's guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. It absolutely is. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, Sherrod, you mentioned Pritchard's effect on their first game, but moving on to that game against New York, they did lose, 7-point loss. Pritchard had 21, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, but then Dalano Banton is the one that kind of stood out, I would say, with the 20 points. What did you two see in his game? And coming off of the bench, how is that going to be a plus for the Celtics?
What do you think, Gary? Because you've seen a little bit more of him than I have.
I like Banton. I still think he's more of a project. He didn't play a lot in these years in Toronto. He's still a young guy. But I think this bench is going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of opportunity. You have, whoever is the odd man out in the starting five, whether it be Derrick White or Drew Holiday or whatever, still
TBD.
Yeah, there's just that, White would be a sixth man or whoever be your sixth man. You got your strong six. Then you got like Hauser, and you got Oshae Brissett, Sherrod's buddy, and, Syracuse.
All right, we get it.
All right, go Orange. Anyway, you get those guys, but I also think there's some dogs in this team. Like, I like Kieta, Neemias Queta. I liked definitely like Lamar Stevens. Definitely liked him. Thought he put some good minutes together. Banton, you got guys who are fighting for their NBA, not lives.
Yeah, but actually.
But they're fighting for to get a role on a team, a consistent role. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be a lot of competitive ball in camp that I think will help this team and help the bench, because the bench needed help. It needed a boost, right? Said you got your strong six. And then you got Hauser and Payton, and you got guys who have been NBA, but even Payton's got something to prove. Hauser's got something to prove. Stevens, Banton. So I was impressed with Banton. I think his Achilles heel has been his shooting over the years. As Nick Nurse told us before the game, he just said he wasn't really a good shooter. But if he can knock down that shot, the same with Lamar Stevens, their bench can be young and athletic, and that's what you want. You want to bring, the one thing I think they should take from the Miami Heat is guys like Haywood Highsmith, guys that you ain't, not household names, but bringing off athletic guys off the bench, not a bunch of old dudes. Bringing guys out that got something to play for, and the bench is filled with guys with something to play for.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing about those type of players is that you have to, as a coaching staff, really help them hone in and develop one specific skill that it really amplifies their athleticism. For example, if they have this great wingspan and lateral quickness, help them become an elite defender. If they really move well without the ball, help them to just run along that baseline and find ways to get easy baskets. If they have a nice shooting stroke, or maybe it needs the mechanics need a little bit of refinement, help them to become a 3-and-D guy. Figure out a way that they can give you something that can give you something that you don't have. Because when I look at the Celtics roster and I look at those guys at the end of the bench, first and foremost, they're thirsty as hell. I mean, they're even though they're not necessarily playing for their basketball lives, they're approaching these games as if they're playing for their basketball lives. Mm-hmm. And you need to have that edge, that intensity, that energy coming off your bench, particularly when you got a team that is as top heavy as the Celtics are. They are legitimately 6'7" strong, night in and night out. But typically when you win a championship, there's that 8th, 9th guy who can help you win a game that you may not otherwise win. Could be the difference between winning a championship and not. The Celtics could have used a guy like that, a couple years ago when they were in the NBA Finals. They needed one guy to be a difference maker for one night and help them get a win. And that could have been the difference between turning that series around against the Warriors. So they have a lot of those type of players. When you look at Lamar Stevens, you look at Oshae Brissett, you look at, a number of guys that weren't with the team a year ago. And if you're Joe Mazzulla, that's maybe the biggest challenge you have. It's not so much figuring out how to make your core group work, because those guys are so talented. They're going to figure things out just because they're that good and they're that talented. But how can you supplement them? How can you get the most out of those guys at the end of the bench who are hungry, who are thirsty? They want to be better. They want to be coached. They want to be improved upon. How can you do that within the confines of figuring out which buttons to push on which nights? So, again, there's a lot of things that the preseason I hope we'll get a little bit of clarity on. But to me, the biggest thing is how are you going to craft that bench going forward, because your bench is going to help you win some games. Your starters are going to carry the load most nights, but you're going to have at least 1 or 2 games every month on a minimum where your bench is going to have to really step up in order to win. And in the playoffs, you're probably going to have in the best of 7 series at least 1 or maybe 2 games where your bench is going to be a difference maker, good or bad. So you want that to be on a positive ledger side if you're the Celtics, obviously.
So speaking specifically about Banton, what do you think? Again, everything we talk about early on in the season is going to be the very small data that we have based off of how they play. But do you think this performance puts him in the rotational conversation just yet?
I do.
I think I think it does. Yeah. But by no means is it that's going to be a fluid thing all year. When I look at these first couple of games, if there's one guy who I thought would be, pretty much in that top, if they went 9 deep, would be pretty much there night in and night out, it's Sam Hauser. And I'm not sure that's the case. Because here's the thing: if Sam's not knocking down shots, and he's not a great rebounder, and I think he's not nearly as bad a defender as people think he is. But if he's not knocking down shots, his value is very, very limited. Whereas a guy like Banton shows a lot of versatility. Brissett, not a great three-point shooter, but is a pretty good defender and rebounder, and he can knock down an open shot from time to time. Those are the kind of things that are going to get you on the floor when you're coming off that bench. And Sam Hauser, to me, that's the one guy that I think so far has been a little bit of a disappointment because he's better than what we've seen so far. It's just a matter of, can he get into a flow, get into a rhythm, and become that, more into the shooter that we know he is capable of being. It remains to be seen if that's the case.
I also think Svi Mihalik, right?
You said it better than I did the last time we talked about him.
Like,
I'm just gonna keep calling
I think Svi is. I mean, he had 5 threes.
You can't guard nobody, G.
Yeah, I think he knows his role, and I think if Hauser slips, Svi could take some of those minutes. I think Svi's an NBA player. Like, the one thing that they have that I saw last night in the Knicks game was they got all those guys on the floor were NBA players. Even J.D. Davidson, it was good to see him take a step and learn to play more of a point guard role. Now, I don't know how Payton's extension affects Davidson, because I thought that was a guy they might kind of use to replace Payton as kind of a backup point guard eventually. But I think he'll do a good full year in the G League again, and then they'll make a decision on him in the future going forward. But I liked the game J.D. Davidson had. But I think I liked what he was able to do out there. He can shoot from any spot in the floor, and they don't have that. They don't have that, and you'd like to say Hauser could be that guy, but he's been inconsistent. They don't have that Duncan Robinson, that dude who just can be a game changer just from his shooting, right? Believe me, Duncan's got his issues, and Duncan is not the greatest defender and all that, but that dude can change a game in 2 to 3 possessions with 2 to 3 threes, just boom, boom, boom. And I thought Svi is a guy, when he gets hot, he can shoot. And you need shooters on your team. The Celtics have lacked shooting over the years. And Hauser, I think he started 1 for 13. I don't know, 1 for 14. I'm not sure. But like Sherrod said, he's had 2 subpar games. His minutes aren't guaranteed. But I think Svi is a guy who can get some minutes. Not all those guys are going to play. But I think the encouraging sign for Celtic fans is that this bench actually is filled with NBA caliber players, not the Jawan Morgans and some of these guys. No, nothing in that guy personally.
Why not pick on Jawan Morgan, man?
It's always a bad idea when you start listing names.
Some of these guys who just who are no longer in the league, who are overseas or something, not even in camps. You need NBA guys on your bench and let them fight it out for minutes. If a guy's unhappy, you see about trading him at the deadline or figure it out. But I like the fact that when I looked at the game on Monday with guys like Lamar Stevens, man, they got NBA players, and they pushed the Knicks. The Knicks were playing, they didn't play all their guys 40 minutes, but it was their opener, right? It was a Knicks opener, so they played Brunson and Randall and Barrett and Quigley, and they played their main guys. They kind of emptied the bench in the fourth quarter, but the Celtics hung with the first team Knicks, and that's encouraging.
These are your hiring goals, they say. They're very aggressive, but when everyone looks to you, you're calm. Why? Because you don't need a miracle, you need Indeed. Indeed is a hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. They streamline hiring with powerful tools that can help you find your matched candidates. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed match their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Candidates you invite to apply are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in the search. Indeed does the hard work for you, and they show you candidates whose resume, once again, on Indeed, fit the job description immediately after you post so that you can hire faster. Even better, Indeed's the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed is an unbelievably powerful hiring platform, delivering 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to CLNS in 2019. You can start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/A-list. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit right now at Indeed.com/A-list. Once again, Indeed.com/A-list, and show that support by saying you heard this on the podcast. Indeed.com/A-list. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, moving on to Jayson Tatum, the star of this team. We saw him play against Philly. He struggled a little bit, didn't play against New York. So are you concerned about the fact that he didn't play as well as he was expected to play in the first game?
Oh, no. Hell no. Not at all. I was listening to the ESPN broadcast, and JJ Redick he told a really interesting story, and I think it's very applicable to Jayson Tatum. He talked about when he was a rookie, how they were playing like the Atlanta Hawks, and he was trying to do what rookies do, trying to make an impression. He's going 100 miles an hour. And Joe Johnson is just like, bro, man, chilling, just kind of going through the motions. And that's when, the moral of the story that JJ was telling was how, when you're a veteran player, you don't approach preseason games as if they're games. It's just a glorified practice. So for you, it's about getting your cardio. It's not even so much about getting into a rhythm shooting the ball. It's about just getting your body physically in the flow of the action. And so that's why with Tatum, I'm not worried about his shot making, because I think it's going to be there when it matters most. For me, the big thing for him is just to be out there, get some cardio, try to get his teammates involved, because to me, that's the part of his game that I like to see growth in, just getting others involved. And I think he's made growth in that area the last 2 or 3 years. Keep building on that. And as far as shot making, that's going to come. I mean, that's the last thing I'm worried about with Jayson Tatum. But I can certainly understand if you're looking for him to be like Jayson Tatum regular season in preseason game 1 or 2, which ain't realistic, you're freaking out about how he's shot the ball. He hasn't shot the ball well. But again, I'm not consumed by that, because at the end of the day, it's preseason, and veteran players know that. That's why, they're not tripping. When coach says come out, players are like damn near sprinting to get off the damn floor, because they just want to get out and get some cardio. So,
not concerned. I think Jayson will be fine. I think he wants to, like Sherrod said, get in basketball, complete basketball shape, get used to his new teammates, maybe a new role. And I do think he wants to work on his 3-point game. I do think he wants to start off and probably get off to better starts. And I think that was maybe one of his problems over the years, is just starting slow and especially in the playoffs, the 1-for-10s, and then coming back and having this crazy second half to where, he ends up having a great game. I think he wants to start faster, but I'm not concerned about the minutes. I do think he was emphasizing, as Sherrod had made the point of the preseason, is to emphasize games, parts of your game that you just want to do. I think Jayson was trying to attack the rim. He was trying to get to the free throw line. He was trying to do some work on some things, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to run this offense because we need to win this game. So I think the priorities were a little different than a normal regular season game, but I'm not concerned with Jayson shooting.
All right. Well, Jaylen Brown, I know you both saw the video that was posted on the internet, which honestly, editorially wise, there was no point in that video. Like, there wasn't anything happening. He was just dribbling, happened to be with his left, happened to not be as successful as you'd expect it to be for a professional basketball player. But if you guys didn't see it, it's probably on Twitter, that now called X. But Jaylen's left hand, what do you two think? Do we need to talk about that this early in the season, or are we just being trolled by everyone?
We're totally being trolled. We are totally.
Because why?
Here's the thing, though. I mean, it's something that is going to come up night in and night out, because it stands out, and and really, it's not nearly as bad as that video that posted on Twitter. It ain't that bad.
That did need to be there.
Yeah, but there were moments in that first game where, that left hand dribble was not as tight as it should be. And I think that's part of just a work in progress with Jaylen. I think it's something that he is very well aware of. And I think he is making strides to get better, but he's got some work to do. Because I'm not comfortable or confident in his ability to use that left-handed dribble drive to get to where he wants to get to. Too many times I think he gets caught up, whether he gets poked or he gets it bounces off his foot or something goes wrong more times than it should. So again, one of the benefits of having a guy like Jrue Holiday is that Jaylen doesn't have to dribble as much in half court sets. He can be set up to attack folks in a much more conventional dribble drive finish at the rim type of manner, as opposed to bringing the ball up and then dribbling trying to shake free from a guy who's guarding you and maybe use a screen to do that, maybe not. So it's not where I wish it were, but it's not. I wouldn't call it trash or atrocious, which are some of the descriptions I remember seeing on social media. It ain't that. It's just not great yet.
Yeah. I'm not as concerned about Jaylen dribbling the ball behind his back, as the video showed, as I am his decision making. And there was one play against Philadelphia that was a concern. He had kind of a breakaway. He stole the ball and he dribbled, and there were three guys behind him, and he decided to go 1 for 3 on 3, and he got ripped. And that's not only always handle. Yeah, he could have done, he could have done, I don't know, Stephon Marbury or whoever, Kyrie Irving, and dribbled in between the three and got to the rim and took, but that's not his game. Right. And what I'd like to see from Jaylen is play your game. 1-on-3 is not your game. Now, if you get the ball up and get to the rim, that is your game. But you dribbling through 3 defenders and getting the ball, that's going to be hard. The scouting report says, rip them, weak handle. So you got to get, you when you see 3 defenders and you're like, oh, I can take all 3. No, you take the dribble and you dribble back out and you hold it up and you keep that key possession. Don't give the ball away. And I saw he was dribbling and then somebody came from behind. Now, should somebody have called ball or warned him, and he got stripped. But it was also, he was taking on 3 defenders. So it's not necessarily dribbling, it's the decision-making, dribbling into traffic, dribbling against defenders who know how to rip the ball. Right? Like, that's what I would like to see better from Jaylen, not the handle. Okay, I think he's working on it. I mean, I've seen him work. Like, he ain't working on his handle. No, he is. Like, these dudes aren't stupid. They know what their weaknesses are. They know what they need to work on. Now, will Jaylen ever be a great ball handler? Will he ever be Marcus Haynes? Look that up. Google that, folks. Look, YouTube Marcus Haynes. You know what I'm talking about. That's YouTube, Kwani, because that's way before your time.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
But he's a great globetrotter and used to dribble like still the greatest dribbler I've ever seen. And maybe second is Isaiah Thomas, the original OG Isaiah.
Yeah, the one without the extra A.
Yes. But he's never going to be those guys. But what he can do is make better on-court decisions with the ball, not dribble into traffic if you don't have that elite handle to where you're going to keep the ball. Kyrie Irving can do that. Steph Curry can do that. But you're not, but you're not that guy. So when you're taking 1-on-3, either pull up for a jumper but don't try to dribble in between 3 defenders because he got ripped. And Philadelphia took it back down the floor. And to me, that's what concerns me, the decision-making, not necessarily ball handling. Knowing in your back of your mind, I'm not an elite ball handler, so I should not dribble into 3 defenders to try to get to the basket. If he doesn't do that, then he doesn't get exposed with his dribbling. If he makes a better decision, if he sees 3 defenders, pass it on out, post up, take a short jumper, go hard to the basket with 1 dribble, not do. But I honestly, I see him working on his handle, left-handed, working, with the coaches, trying to get to the basket, be crafty. I see him working on it. So if I was a Celtics fan, I wouldn't be concerned, he hasn't worked on his handles. Jaylen knows his weaknesses. The team is telling him that. The world is telling him that. Twitter is telling him that. I'm sure they tell him that in the streets. But I think he's just got to be a better decision maker. If he makes better decisions and cuts down one or two of those turnovers per game, I ain't worried about his dribbling.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jaylen, if you're listening, you know the answer now. We got you. All right. Who would you two say are, if any, other standouts from the two preseason games that you watched? Oh my gosh.
Can you see? No, seriously though. He's been good.
That's actually clever. Oshae, can you see? That's good. I like that.
He's been good.
Kwani, that ain't clever. Stop that.
Bad.
Don't do that. That's not clever.
Good bad dad joke.
No, Kwani,
Oshae, can you see was pretty good, Kwani. It's all right.
You're from Jersey. That's impressive.
Boston changed me for the worse. The dad jokes, that's me now.
Corny
dad with no kids.
Don't encourage him, please.
All right.
Oshae Brissett.
Gary Washburn's Defensive Player of the Year, front runner. Oshae's been good. I thought he was, I think for him the key is just being consistent, and really all those guys on the bench. And that doesn't mean you have to score 10 to 15 points every night and get 6-7 rebounds. You just have to have a presence. Make your impact felt night in, night out. There are a lot of games where guys may only play 6-7 minutes, but they're 6 productive minutes where they're defending, they're rebounding, they're boxing out, they're closing out on shooters. They're doing all the little things that lead to runs that your team has to go on in order to be successful. And I thought Oshae, more so in game 1 than game 2, but I thought he did a good job of just being active and engaged, trying to bring some energy in the building. That dunk he had that got waved off. Little things that may not seem like that big a deal in the final box score, you come to realize were really important during a key critical stretch that the team went on. And so, Oshae, he to me, he's been one of those guys that's been I think a little bit better than I think a lot of people thought.
I'm trying to look here. And
according to my hood research.
Yeah, my hood research. I like Lamar Stevens. I thought Kata played a good, solid, he was
what are you drinking, Sherrod? Look at that. I'm sorry, but look at this container.
Hold up.
Got a whole gallon in that. Yeah.
It's a jug.
Bruh.
Right, you want to give us some? You want to pass?
Right, you sure do that.
The 40s. Drinking 40s.
It's 5 o'clock.
I don't do that stuff, Gary. What are you talking about? I've never done that stuff.
You're off the clock.
He said 5:04. I'm ready.
It's Miller time.
I've never done that stuff before, Gary. What are you talking about?
Goodness. Anyway.
Sorry. Anyway.
I thought Kita was strong. 7 points, 4 rebounds, 14 minutes. I thought, Stevens. I was going to say Stevens. 27 minutes, 11 points, 8 rebounds, an assist and a steal. 3 offensive rebounds, which is really what the Celtics need. And Kita, 4 offensive rebounds. So dudes hungry around the basket are going to give the Celtics extra possessions. That's what they need. I thought that the bench performed well. Jordan Wall, 7 rebounds in 19 minutes. I thought he was okay, I thought overall I said Hauser 2 for 9 from 3, but he still had 8 rebounds in 25 minutes. So, everybody did their share. I don't think that there was someone out there who was like, man, this dude don't look ready. I didn't see that. But I was impressed with Kid and Lamar Stevens. I think Lamar Stevens is going to help this team.
All right, quickly looking around the NBA, specifically at Victor, Wemby, and Chet Holmgren. They both had their debuts, and we were lucky that they were actually playing each other. Did it go better or worse than you expected for either player and team? Well, player, not the team.
Better. They were better than I thought
they looked good.
They look good. They look like, if you're saying this is the future of the NBA. How's this going to look? It's like, damn, they both look good.
And we waited a whole year for Chet at that, so that made the anticipation even bigger.
Yeah, I mean, Chet's on that Ben Simmons redshirt freshman program,
but looking better than Ben could.
Ben Simmons / Joel, and I think Joel Embiid might have been on that same program.
2 years.
Okay, so it's hit or miss.
Exactly. But no, they both look good. They both look athletic. They were basically what they were. They played the way that they were expected to play, and that's be dominant, be impactful, run the floor really well, show just an offensive skill set that stands out because of how tall and long they are. Put the ball on the floor. Both of those guys can put the ball on the floor a little bit. Chet, I think, is better at that than Victor. But at the end of the day, this is going to be two guys that are going to be going at each other for years to come. And with both of them being out west, it's they're going to have to knock off one another to get to the finals over the long extended period of their time in the NBA, and that's going to be interesting to see how that evolves and how their relationship evolves, because they're going to be two of the best players among first-year players this year. I don't think there's any question about that. Bottom line is both of those guys I thought had a good start, and we're going to see this matchup for years to come as they both fight their way and their teams try to get their teams to the NBA Finals, and they're going to have to go through each other to do that.
Well, I love that for us because the future is bright. Gary, you were going to say something?
Oh, I mean, just good. I'm impressed with Wemby, but in summer league, he looked like he was a little bit physically overwhelmed, but he looks like he's getting more comfortable. Apparently, he's gained 18 pounds in the last 3 months. So the Spurs are the perfect program for him. They're going to take him along slowly. They're going to have him playing in a perfect position. I remember back in the day when I covered the Sonics and Kevin Durant as a rookie, he played the 2 guard, right? People were like, that's crazy, but he was a 175-pound, 6'9", 6'10" back then, shooting guard. He had all the skills of a guard, but he was 6'10". He was barely, I said before, barely 200 pounds, if that. I would say 175, 180. And PJ Carlesimo used him as shooting guard for his rookie year, to maximize his potential, maximize his spots. Make sure he wasn't playing against a lot of the big burly guys back then. He wasn't playing against those physical power forwards in the mid 2000s and the Oakleys, and he's a little old there, but some of those guys that were just going to be shoving him around the paint. That wasn't going to happen. He was playing on the perimeter, so I think it's a good idea for San Antonio to use Wembanyama in the perimeter until he gets physically ready to play with the big guys.
All right, before we close out, because I always do a quick Twitter or X scan before we wrap up our podcast in case anything had broken while we were chatting. Nothing broke necessarily, but Derrick White did not make ESPN's top 100 ranked players list for this upcoming season. Do you think he should have been on that list?
Top 100? Woo, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing about top 100 lists. You got to keep in mind that the NBA, you're talking about 30-plus teams, and you're probably talking about the top 3+ players. And on the Celtics, you got Tatum and Brown, you've got Porzingis, and you got Drew Holiday. I mean, you've got 4 guys right there that are going to be in that top 100 somewhere. And the idea of having 5 guys in the top 100, someone is probably going to get slighted. And Derrick, you can make a case that he got slighted. I'm not sold on that, though. You can make a case, but I'm not necessarily buying it.
Yeah, I'm not, like Sherrod said, the league is 450 players. So you're saying that Derrick is, the top 20% of players in the league, almost, 25%. I think it's on the bubble. If it was 200, then it'd be a problem.
Yeah.
He might be 116. I don't think that's offensive, right?
Yeah.
He's coming off a good, solid year, all defensive team. But next year, if he has another solid year, obviously he'll crack the 100, probably crack the 70 mark if he takes that step forward.
What makes this fun is that Grant Williams is at number 97, and he was at 99 last year.
Here we're moving on now.
Right. No longer with this team. But that's all we have for this week's episode of the A-List podcast. The season's here. They have 2 more preseason games until the real games begin, but we'll keep watching. We'll keep keeping you informed as to what's going on. If you haven't already, this is the perfect time to start sharing the podcast. Basketball is back. Send this episode to a Celtics fan as they prepare for this glorious year of fandom. And until then, for Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. This is the A-List podcast.
New FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds On. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too, especially since Celtics All Access listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/Celtics. That's oddsr.com/Celtics.